welcome to GenFriends. I'm your host, Cheri Hudson Passey from Carolina Girl Genealogy. And as usual, we have a fabulous, can't even talk already, fabulous panel and a special guest who we'll introduce to you in just a minute. We have got Mary Kircher Roddy with her fabulous quilt behind her from MKR Genealogy. Hi, Mary.
Hi there.
So
Great
good
to be here.
So good to have you here. We've got Laura Hedgecock from Treasure Chest of Memories. Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Good to have you too. And Dan Earl, our family history guy. Hey, Dan. And Melissa Barker. She is our archive lady, and her blog is a genealogist in the archive. So she writes fabulous posts, as everybody on this panel does. So get a hold of everybody's blogs. But as you know, we are covering relative race. And so we've got a very special guest with us tonight. We just watched day 6, and we have invited Rebecca. And Rebecca was from Team Black, season 3, the winners of the season. And she is now one lucky person because she works for Relative Race. Tell everybody what you do.
Well, I have the best job in the world. At least I like to think so. I am the unit production manager for the show now. So kind of what I do is a lot of everything. So, orchestrating with logistics, making sure the show runs smoothly, getting, all the contestants on board, making sure that all the teams are ready to go, all the details are worked out, all the moving parts come together as a cohesive piece, and along with like finances and everything for the show.
Gosh.
Just a little bit of everything, but it's, how much I love it. It's giving back to what I was given, and I can't have asked for a better job. So
I think it's so fabulous to see you, working for Relative Race. I just think that's wonderful. Congratulations. That's just great. That's just great. Now, can you give us a little bit of an update on perhaps an upcoming season, just so people will know, or not? Or can you say anything?
Well,
we're going to have an 8.
We have been working furiously, and season 8 filming will be taking place next month.
Wow.
So,
wonderful.
Guys, we'll see that in the fall.
In the fall, great.
And, I'm excited, and I hope that everything goes well, but we're excited.
That's so great. Thanks for that update. That will make all the Relative Race fans very, very happy.
Right now, we are in the final home stretch before filming, when things get, down to the wire. Everybody's just, pieces are moving and grooving, and it's just one busy, fun craziness.
Well, hopefully things will be a little bit better now that some of the COVID restrictions are being lifted and people are getting vaccinated, and hopefully it'll be a little bit of a better,
we're still taking full on precautions the same when we filmed season 7.
Yeah, that's good.
Even though there are vaccinated people, we still, it's just not a risk we can take. So we are full on same precautions.
That's good. That's good to know. Well, let's talk a little bit. I know you can't stay on with us for very long tonight because you are working on the next season.
I am. We are working for filming, and then there's mommy duty, and
exactly. So I would like to hear your thoughts on day 6. I just can't, and this because you've run to those doors and you've opened the door to a relative, and like I know that Monica was a little nervous about getting out of the car, even though she
always is.
She always is, getting out of the car. Were you nervous? Did it make you nervous, or?
I found my first door that were with my aunt, my very first door, I was super excited, gung-ho, and then the reality and the enormity sets in of what you're doing after that first door, and then you're terrified and excited and just overwhelmed at every door after that, because it's, who is this? How's this going to go? What surprise or information will I get? And it's a lot incoming at one time. So it can be very overwhelming, but in a very wonderful way.
Yeah. And I'm thinking you're going, how am I going to handle this? Whoever it might be, how am I going to handle this? And oh my gosh, I'm on camera. So all of that comes into play. Laura, you said you've got a question?
Yes, I have a question. Is from both the family member at home side and the contestant side, are there guidelines on what questions can be asked and what questions can be answered? Because I watch from me, and I'm thinking there's like this vague stuff going on, and I would be shaking the relatives saying, out with it, out with it. You know something.
Well,
No, seriously.
There are, so relatives who know more about what is to come are restricted on what they can say. And the producer will tell them, you know, like, it's off limits. I know you know who they're meeting tomorrow because you're all family, but we can't talk about that. Or if we aren't ready to reveal a certain part of their journey and their story to them, then that the producer will tell them that's off limits. And you can tell sometimes they dance around the subject.
Yeah.
But,
so
you know,
the contestants don't know. So maybe it's just cut in editing when they say, well, what about such and such? And then there's the dance. That's just cut then.
yes. I mean, we have to, you don't want to give the whole pie up front. You know, it's this the part of the, I think what I love about relative race, it's this journey. And it's not just about finding your family, it's the path that you take to do it.
Right.
And the discoveries that you make every day. You learn about your family, but you also learn about yourself. And I learned so much about myself, and I grew, which is weird to say, but it's hard to explain unless you've been down that path. But it really is a journey. And when Dan says, you know, it's journey, it really is for the contestants. So we want to make sure that we develop that journey for them and let them take it in piece by piece and digest it and do what they will with it. And so we do tell them, you know, let's give them the here and now. Let's not let them worry about tomorrow or the day before. Let's live in the moment. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about them, and let's keep it there and allow that to develop before we give them the rest of the pie.
And what do you think of this season with there being shorter travel times and more family time?
It's great. That's the focus. You know, that we love the race element of the show, but at the same time, the show is about finding family. So we try to really work these routes so they're shorter, so we have more family time, because that's what it's about. The race is fun and we love it, but really it's about family.
Exactly. Mary, you said you had a question?
Yeah, so we obviously really see a lot that goes on with the contestants, and we don't see that much with the family. How much, can you talk about how much the show has contact with the family before they meet the contestants? And is there a lot there, or what's that experience like?
So for us as the team that's putting the show together, the contact with the relatives is enormous. They start this contact months in advance. And so over a period of sometimes 9 to 6 months, the family is developing relationships with the producer for their team. And they're on the phone every day. They're talking about what they like, what they don't like, stories they can share, what might interest the contestant, or what they would be wanting to hear from them, what answers they're looking for. And the producers develop really close relationships with the relatives. They spend a lot of time, getting to know them, because you can't produce a team with such emotion and such personal stories without knowing them. So they spend a lot of time learning and knowing these people. So
they know exactly who's coming and how they're related to this person. And okay, that's interesting.
You know, that really explains why some of the family members are just, you could tell that they're just so excited. And then some of them, you can tell they're kind of nervous, you know, they're not quite sure. I think that Monica's brother on day 6 was a little reserved and a little nervous about the whole thing. I mean, he was embracing her.
All those cameras showing up, like yes. on the phone, but these cameras are now all up in your business, and it's like, oh, this is real.
This is real. So yeah,
that's the thing, is a lot of people say, well, you know, you should have done this, or why don't they do that? And the answer is, these are real people. They aren't actors. This is real time in the moment, and we capture it and we ask them about it. And that's what you get. So
and that's what you get. Yeah.
If they're nervous, they're nervous. If they're overly excited, they're overly excited. And that's one of the things that we love about it. You get what you get. And it's real people in real moments. And I mean, I love it.
And that's why this show's so good. Exactly. Melissa.
Yeah, I have a question. And like I said before we started, I only started watching Relative Race last season. And so super fans like Cheri over there have seen all of them. This season, I understand that the element of the adoptive parents have kind of come into it more than ever before, and even down to the point of interviewing, some adoptive parents on air. And so was that just a really planned, conscious effort by Relative Race to bring that in this season, or did that just kind of happen and fall into place?
Great question. Before I answered it, I'd be fascinated to know what you think, and do you like this element?
I actually do like this element because it actually brings everything full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're watching the show and you hear the adoptees talking about, but I grew up in a loving family, I had loving parents, I had this, and it's like, it's nice to be able to meet them and to see them, and it's like it just brings the whole family together.
Yes. So
last night we saw it come totally full circle with Jerry's comments about Cheri. I'm not going to say Jerome. Comments about how he wanted to meet Liz's parents.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you saw that circle 100% come around.
Absolutely. And Monica had the book and she says, I want to show you my family. These are my parents.
Yes.
Right.
And y'all all know how I feel about it as an adoptive mom. I've got biological children, adopted children. So they know that first week when all this happened, what was it, 2 weeks ago? I can't remember. I sobbed, absolutely sobbed the whole show, because this was the first time that, somebody had said, oh yeah, you know what? They have families that love them, that raise them. They're not running away from them. They're just adding to their family. And so I literally sobbed through the whole show. So,
but that's why I'm asking the question. But that's why I'm asking the question, is because I understand it's kind of the first time this has ever happened.
So we've had discussion before where we've, people brought up, well, what about the adopted parents? And we're like, that's a great question. What about them? And you're right. They are part of the full circle and the bigger picture. And so it was a conscious decision this season to include them. And it was opportunity that arose with this season that we saw, this is the time to do it. And I think you guys when we come through the end of the season, you will be very pleased with how, that part of the story was told, because it is a huge part of their lives.
Sure,
it is.
And it's only fair to tell it as well, because these people raised these children that weren't theirs out of the love of their hearts. And they turned out to be amazing human beings. If you look at all the teams, they're all amazing human beings. And
well, it's important. You were saying they raised these children, but the minute that child came into their home, they were theirs. It didn't matter.
They were there.
Yeah, it didn't matter. Yeah.
Even before that moment.
Yeah.
The moment that they decide they want to pursue an adoption.
That's true.
They don't know who that child is, but it's their child.
Exactly.
And we have decided on GenFriends that Grandma Marge needs to have her own show.
Yeah.
I second that. She's an incredible woman.
She is awesome.
To her for the months or the weeks leading up to filming, and she has so many stories, and she knows every child who's been through a home, and she knows amazing about them. And it just blows your mind about how incredible as a human she is. And as much as you love her on camera, she's even cooler off camera.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we're going to vote for her to have her own show, or at least
President.
Have a little bit longer with her, have some interviews with her, have a little bit longer with her. Let's talk about the teams real quick. We had, of course, we have Team Black coming out with their advantage. They got to have a real GPS. And I thought it was hysterical, and what a wonderful out of the box thought for them, because they couldn't write it down. And I think the rules were changed because DeShade wrote it down.
So the wonderful thing about the show is we encourage ingenuity and creativity. And it was the same when I was on the season. I tell you guys, I pushed the limits. And they would give the express rules. You can and cannot do these things. And I would say, well, you didn't say I can't do this.
Exactly.
If you are creative enough to come up with a different solution that we have not banned. So, you know, and that we carry that through this season for all seasons. Like
Mhm.
we put our limits and we give you the rules. And if you can
Right.
creatively problem solve in a
Thought it was
different, unique
wonderful.
way.
So what they did was, for anybody, well, I guess hopefully everybody's seen the show by the time they watch this.
Spoiler
They
alert.
spoiler alert, they couldn't write it down. So what they do, they took a picture. I was like, that's so good.
And you know, Deshay from season 6 said I would have done the same thing.
Same thing.
So many contestants. You know what? If you can think outside the box and get creative, high five to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I loved their story. I loved that she got to meet a sister, and she had known about this sister, but had never met her. But I think what touched me the most was the sister was able to tell, and she had red hair. I'm like, she's getting it from both sides, that red hair, right?
Yes.
But I think what got me the most was, well, number one, the sister wrote the letter. So that was very touching when she was 12.
Yeah.
And she found out about her. But the fact that she was showing her pictures and that she had to tell Casey her mother's name. I mean, she didn't even know her biological mother's name. And that just got to me. And then she found out, not only do I have this younger sister, but I have a
Little
younger
brother.
Robin and Christopher Robin, the Pooh kids.
Yep.
That was.
I have to tell you, she is such a sweet girl, and I can't. It's hard to say that you know, do you really like all these people that much? Yes, because they're all such wonderful humans. Could you imagine being invited to tell this story on TV when it's so challenging, but to make yourself that vulnerable because you want so bad to be reconnected? I have so much respect for them.
And then the opera scene where they got to go into the
The theater.
I was like blown away. They were both so good.
Well, and I was blown away. I mean, they said it's the nicest theater or something like that in Ohio. And I thought, okay, like, what is that going to mean? It was like, oh, wow, this is really,
It is really nice.
I was really excited to see it. My husband's family came from Xenia.
Oh, wow.
Oh, great.
So
That's
yeah,
really
so I'm like
cool.
looking around and could she be related to me?
Could she be related?
We all think that. Can they be related to me?
Exactly. We all want them to be, right?
You know what, this particular story actually made me think. I mean, I'm not adopted. There's not any kind of adoptions in my family, but her sister talking about how she ran across these photo albums. She asked her mom about them when she was like 12 and wrote this letter and stuff. And then, you know, I can't remember her name, Casey. Like, yeah, she really, you could tell that, you know, that she was thinking about her, you know, and she didn't know it. And I think about our own lives, and I think about things that other people are doing that we don't know, that one day we may know.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I just think it's great that that it was shared on the show.
Yeah, that was really sweet. And her reading that letter was really, really sweet. So, Laura?
And now Monica's brother's name is what?
Kyle. The one that she met?
Kyle. Yes. And he was a little bit similar, but what really struck me with both of those siblings was that knowing about their sibling that wasn't with the family was just kind of this hole that they didn't know how to name. They didn't know how to fill.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine growing up thinking, okay, there's someone related to me and I can't know them.
Yeah. And they called Monica baby girl.
Yeah.
Right. And
I
then
thought there was-
Kyle kept saying over and over, I didn't ever imagine this could happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could
And
tell
that-
it was been inside of him for a long, as reserved as he was, you
Mhm.
could tell that has been inside of him his whole life.
Yeah.
And so, and I think he was just in awe of it actually coming true.
Yeah.
And it was
I thought so
interesting too that they knew about her, because a lot of times these are kept secret in families. And it's not until relative race calls and says, I got some things to tell you, you know.
Yeah.
So I thought it was awesome that the mom told them about it, but you know, so they knew, and it wasn't that great of a surprise, but at the same time, it was something they grew up with, wondering if they would ever meet. And like Laura said, it was that hole.
And what you'll find is with a lot of parents who give up children for adoption, and, you know, Tristan has told me many stories about these, you know, obviously she's a lot of the time our first line connection to these people. And she shared with me before that, you know, she's never once called a relative who's been like, yeah, I didn't want that kid. Just gave him up, didn't want him. Like, it's a hard decision for every parent.
Right.
And as much as any adoptee may think, well, I wasn't wanted, I can guarantee you that it's so much more. It's not that you just weren't wanted, is that they couldn't, for whatever reason, keep you. And we haven't come across a single parent's like, yep, just didn't want that kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But there's the intellectual knowing that's not what it is. And I think we saw that with Casey where she let it slip. A couple of times I wondered, because I think, and just because there are adoptees in my family, there is this emotional, this subconscious thing about being given up. There's always that wondering in the background. And it's not an intellectual, I'm sure they didn't want me, but it's just this, I don't know how to describe it. Just this anxiety, this background that makes them have to go on that journey.
Laura, you hit it right on the head when you said that, how could you have that hole and not know how to fill it? And, you know, after meeting my sister and our discussions, it's when you have that hole filled, then it's when you understand it. Before, you really don't understand it and you don't know what is wrong or why it's wrong or how to correct it. But then when it's filled, it's like, oh, and you get it. And you're dead on there that sometimes it can be a hard emotion or a hard situation to even internalize and figure out with yourself what that is that you're feeling.
I think that makes it harder when you have someone who has siblings that are older than them and siblings that are younger than them, and they in the middle were the ones who was given up. And then, I mean, that's a hard one to fill. As to, well, why? What was wrong with me that they kept this ones and they kept these, but in the middle they just decided to get rid of me.
Yeah, I'm really hoping those questions get answered.
I hope so, because that's going to help her a lot to be able to get those answered.
You know what I think is really cool though is like when you look at Monica and you look at Casey and or even Raymond Campbell when you had a sibling kept. How incredible these contestants turned out. Like, you're given something so hard and yet they still found a way to be succcussessful at living in life. And
I think it's getting the questions answered finally. I think that helps.
I agree. Let's talk a little bit about our twins.
Our favorite
twins, our boys.
4 minutes, and then I've got to go.
Okay, yeah, and we completely understand about that. I didn't realize that they had siblings until
I didn't either.
They didn't either.
I don't think they did either. I think they may have heard a few things about them, but they didn't understand how many. That there was 5 total. You know,
wow.
They're 2 of 5, and so you could just see that on their faces. And I'm thinking, oh, please let them find their siblings.
I know.
We've had enough first cousins. Grateful for these first cousins. I'm sure they are too, but let's get a sibling.
I will tell you guys that every journey is different. And the twins, you know, they're no exception. Their journey is different, and just stick with their journey.
Okay.
and appreciate that all of them are different, and appreciate the differences that come with that.
All righty.
So that sounds cryptic.
Yeah, that's very cryptic, but you can't.
Will be revealed.
You can't tell something, although it's just us.
It is.
It's not like we're recording or anything.
No.
Just ignore that recording light in the corner.
Yeah, exactly. So I was thrilled for them that they were able to get that information. I was thrilled for them, and the party that Liz got last night.
Oh, all those relatives.
Okay, guys, I generally can avoid a lot of tears watching this. I tell myself it took place months ago, blah, blah, blah. That was so loving, so wonderful. I really had moist eyes.
Part of me wonders if now it's time to, if that was like a nice way to close that chapter, and now they're going to move to her husband.
Move to Devon.
Yeah.
What an interesting thought.
I know, right?
Wink, wink.
You just should come to us and we can help you edit the shows. And
For
No,
me,
but
what a better place to do this, but in a church.
oh
For me, it
yeah,
was so spiritual,
yeah.
and it gave it such much deeper meaning. And I mean, and you could just tell they were just so open arms and so accepting and so welcoming that it was just amazing. And I wanted it for all the teams.
Oh yeah.
And I love
Yeah.
that Cheri and her brother and sister came. I mean, that
Yeah.
they had to have just been, so anxious. I mean, the other families, they don't get to see him again, but those guys knew that they were going to get this
Yeah.
party. It's like,
And-
okay, you're going, but we
and
can
the
see you
book-
again.
The
But
book
her
they put together,
reaction
too,
when
was
they
great.
walked in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. That was wonderful. And I was gonna say, I love the book. Real quick, I just want to say I love the
Yes.
book that they put together. That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
I gotta tell you, Liz's family, I love them all. I keep saying that and I feel like a broken record, but they're wonderful people and they were very loving and they were just a joy to work with.
And genuine, you could just see it. It came,
Oh, yeah.
it came through. It came through.
And they got the red masks. They did the 9 yards. But what a wonderful, I mean, I just thought of it too. It's not just because it was in a church, but just sacred in another way that this family found out there was one of them that they hadn't known about.
Mm-hmm.
And what a great way to try to make up for 30 years
Yeah.
of not being able to love on that child.
Mhm.
And it was really moving.
It was.
It was great from the challenge, which was funny and hysterical. And I think a
Oh
lot
my
of
gosh,
people played
every
that.
one of those people have straight teeth. And you saw every one of their teeth too.
Yes.
And how fun for Team Black to sing it. That was great.
Oh, that was
Great.
perfect.
That was perfect too. So I know that you've got to go, Rebecca.
Thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you, Rebecca.
So, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll hope to
Yeah.
see you soon. And
Good to
keep in
see you.
touch. Yeah.
It was good to see you guys too. Carry on with the funness and
All right.
I will probably talk to you guys again. 'Cause-
Okay.
Okay.
Righty. Bye.
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 Is there anything else from? I think we covered a lot. The only thing we didn't talk about is, who got the strike and what the benefit for coming in.
Well, I
What's-
think with Team Blue, it was interesting. First the sitting by the river, but I thought the interesting thing for them was before they said who got a strike. I
Mhm,
can't remember which one of the brothers said. I have mixed feelings. And I
mhm.
felt like they were almost at peace with if they did get a strike.
Yeah.
That they were going to continue
Mhm.
the journey with or without the show.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
And it was just really interesting to me that, that they were kind of like, well, we have mixed feelings, not I'm
Yeah.
anxious or whatever. Maybe they were
Mhm.
just tired of the tension or
Yeah. Well,
I don't know about anybody
ex-
else, but as a
emotionally.
mom, when I watched the blue team driving and they talked again about how they don't drive, as a mom, I'm sitting there going, okay, kids, what are you doing on the road?
my husband is with you, Melissa. I mean, that's what he keeps saying. He's like, how long have they had their license?
I know. They stopped at an intersection. They were turning left, and I thought, do they know how to do this?
I'm sure they had it licensed, so they probably
know,
do
I
how to
know.
turn left. But
It's such a mom thing.
no, my husband's right with you.
That's really funny. Does anybody want to talk about not who got, in what place, but what was the reward for coming in first?
Oh, immunity.
Unity. They
Yes.
can't vote it off the
Yes.
island.
Yeah.
For one day. It's only one day of immunity.
It's out of the
though.
car. They can't get voted out of the car.
car.
We can't get voted out of the car. Oh, but that's a great
Yeah,
perk for coming in
it
first
is.
place. I mean,
Well, that means you're going to meet 2 more relatives.
you're going to meet
Yes.
more. Absolutely. And there have been
can take your
seasons,
time.
there's been seasons where the team that got immunity kind of just played all day, and that was their choice because they had immunity. They didn't really hurry up, and they just kind of took their time. And then there have been seasons where they're like, this is still a race and we may have immunity, but I want to get to my relatives as fast as I can and spend time with them. So it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out on day 7, what they decide
Now,
to do with immunity.
Is Sean still looking? Is Sean Casey's husband? Is he looking for family as well? I'm looking at my notes.
I don't believe so, but I wouldn't be surprised if they found somebody for him because they do a lot, So, but I don't believe the intent. I think the intent was just for Casey. Dan, were you going to say something?
Yeah, when she met her brother, there was some kind of interaction where it almost made it sound like he was expecting at some point to meet a relative.
Okay.
I don't, and I can't remember if it was right then, but there was some point in their interactions where it sounds like he is looking.
Okay.
That there may be something there.
There may be something for him.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be great. And even Megan from she's there as
she's just
friend.
I have to expect for them to find one person for her. So.
Yeah, that would be really fun for
so
her.
funny if they
Or
were
find out they're
somehow
just
related.
Or find out they're related.
Your 4th cousin and your 6th cousin.
Exactly. I'm waiting for the time when somebody's related to a person on a different season. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
One thing about the red team and the reunion that they had with all the relatives, and I cannot remember who, Aunt Mary Louise.
Yes.
They said that it was her DNA that connected them, that were able to get them with the show and everything.
Right.
And I thought, how cool is that you can say that it was my DNA that brought all this together. And
it also goes to show, we always say, get that oldest generation. If you're trying to figure out if you could only buy one DNA test, who you're going to give it to, you give it to the oldest living relative. And it looked like she probably was. No difference. But
we've done it in our family. Like, you don't have to pay, you just have to spit.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So because of her, they made all those connections. So, and I think she was very pleased with knowing.
I think she was too.
She was very,
she
very
was a character.
She was a character too. She's up there with
she's like
Grandma Marge.
That Jerome stuff. That's just a birthday.
She was very, very cool.
Cute.
All right. So who won immunity?
Red team.
Red team. And they were red team. Yep, red team did. And they were so stoked because they haven't won before. So and they said that they were going to turn things around when they started out day 6.
They did.
Yep, they said they're going to. Poor Laura's having trouble with her audio. I think so. Yep, it's okay. It happens. It's technology, people. It just does that. So, but what I thought was cool was there was only 9 minutes different between.
I know.
9 minutes. I mean, that's like sitting in a long stoplight or behind heavy traffic.
But with the short journeys, I mean, there isn't many ways that you can get a mistake in there. So they are gonna. Generally, I would think statistically not.
Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting. So, and then of course we're all on pins and needles because we don't want anybody to get a 3rd strike because we want to see them meet all their family, even though we know they're going to give them the paperwork and they're going to get to meet the family. Yeah, we want to see it. Yeah, we want to see it. So we want every team to make it as far as possible. So I know everybody was just, please don't let it be Team Blue. Please.
Yes. Everything was crossed.
Exactly. And then of course it comes down to them and green team,
Yeah.
And so I was dying. I thought, I'm sorry, Team Green. It's not that I want you to get a strike, but I don't want them. I want those boys to find out as much information as possible. And I want to see it.
I want to see it. That's right.
I want to see it. So unfortunately, green team got another strike. So now we've got 2 teams with 2 strikes. So
and the green team was devastated by that.
I think
I think it was a mixture of just the pure devastation, but I also think that by now it's day 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they're exhausted.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Their nerves are frayed, their emotions are just out
Oh, yeah.
there and
Oh,
raw.
yeah.
And so it's just gets, you know, we know from like last season and they're all the seasons that it just gets that way. But
Just
and
'cause
so,
that
you
way,
know,
yeah.
I saw Megan get up and kind of walk out. And
Yes.
she came back,
Mhm.
and so it's hard.
Yeah, it's got to be really hard. They're not sleeping. I saw somebody ask a
Mm.
question on the Fans of Relative Race. There's a Facebook page. If people aren't aware of that, there's a Facebook page. It's the Fans of Relative Race. And somebody asked a question, what time do you normally get the phone call from Dan? And what time do you go to bed at night? And they said that text from Dan usually comes in about 8 or 8:30 in the morning. And they usually don't get to bed till like midnight. I mean, they're up
Yeah.
late.
They're up
talking
at 5 in the morning
to get up
too.
to get
Yeah.
themselves
to
ready
pack and
because they've
spend
got to
more time
pack
with
and
their relative and
yeah.
They're
I don't think
filming.
they're
They're
allowed
filming most
And they're
of the
filming
day.
them. And so you know they're tired. And I always worry about them driving because
Yeah,
you
no,
know they're
we're so worried
exhausted.
about everybody driving.
Yeah, yeah. Because I know how tired they are. And we've spoken to teams and they'll tell us, you know, they've told us how tiring and emotional, and you've got all that going on, and then the worry about the next day and where are you going to go, and are you going to get a strike, and how are you going to do through the challenge, and is it going to be hard, and are you tired, and you know, all that kind of stuff. And so I think that we need to cut them all some slack and realize that they're doing the best they can, and just, you know, root for them and be happy that they're meeting relatives and just be supportive. And so, and be grateful that they're letting us share their journeys, you know,
Yes.
because that's the most important thing, is to see their journeys. And yes, the race part is fun. It's fun. I mean, it would be,
But
it
it's
would
all
just,
about family.
but it's all about the family, and we know that, you know, the rest of it is just fun, or else it would just be another
Mhm.
DNA, here we're going to meet your family show, and it's okay. But this just puts that little spin in it. It makes it relative race, right? So
Right.
there'd be no,
Like it'd be just relative.
I was going to say it would just be relative.
Relative. What's another R word, Dan?
It's all relative.
It's all relative. Relative reunion, relative something.
Relative rant.
Right.
Relative rest because they're not doing anything. They're just-
Relative rest, right? Yeah, because they're not doing anything. And so
Relative rant.
Laura, what'd you put? You said I don't think they're allowed to put their suitcase. I think you might be right. They may not be allowed to put their suitcases, but they can at least pack. But I
Right.
think you're right. I know that there's been some discussion on maybe people breaking rules and doing things different. And I thought it was very interesting to read that, remember, everybody, they've got a producer with them at all times, and they are not going to let them break any rules. So anything they
No.
see that they have done, it's because they were not told they
Well,
can't do it.
I wouldn't think they would even air something that.
Oh, no, they
breaking the
probably would have called them
rules.
back and said,
Yeah.
I remember once one of the teams, the voice came through in the car and said, "You're over the speed limit." Just slow
I
down.
remember.
Because they have to obey the rules of the road. That's one thing, because
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
want ever for relative race to cause a wreck somewhere.
Yeah.
And so it just cracks me up when they'll say, "Pedal to the metal." I'm like, I know y'all can't go really fast. So that's really funny that you're saying that.
Whoa. They
Yes.
don't want to ever cause a wreck, but they're giving them these wilderness GPSs where they're trying to find homes based on, wait, we're going the wrong way.
I know.
I know.
Or making them drive in pouring down rain.
Yes.
Just because they have to get there now. And
I wonder,
yeah.
I bet you anything that if weather conditions got really bad, they would make them pull over and stop the time, and
Probably.
you know, they would let them, because they've got to be careful, because those cars, they don't want to pay extra insurance.
Well, I'm sure they even let them
Yeah.
stop and go to the bathroom and stop.
Yes,
the time.
and that, yeah, all those.
No,
and
but one of the people told us that the potty stops are part of the
a
time.
part of their
Is
timing.
it
That's
really?
right.
Oh, wow.
Right.
It's the
But
interview.
better hurry up.
gas, if you have to get gas, I think that they
Okay.
let you stop the clock for gas.
Then you could run, I guess, and go to
Yeah.
the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
only
they-
one of you.
Only one of you has time to go. And they also stop the clock when they're interviewing too.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it's unscripted, like Rebecca was saying, but I'm sure that sometimes with those interviews, those producers are trying, they're not putting words in
Organized
their mouth.
chaos.
But
Organized
they're,
chaos.
yes, organized chaos. And they're saying things like, how do you feel about this happening? And so,
Oh.
of course, you're going to answer it, right? And so, yes, it's unscripted, but they've got to get a story out of them. You know, they've got to.
Well, and they choose, like somebody said early in the season, they choose a few minutes out of a whole day of filming
Oh, exactly.
that So what
Oh.
could have been a little thing might be a big thing, and what might have been a big thing is a little thing. Or
Exactly. And what I find interesting too is, although the teams, and I think we've talked about this before, although the teams know what happened to them, they don't really know during the day what happened to everybody else. And so they're seeing it fresh as they watch while we watch. It's not like they know. I mean, they know the outcome. They know who's getting the strike. They know who people met because they've got that meeting at the end. But the events and the things that happen and the things that's discussed, you know, with their relatives, they don't know any of that. And so they're tearing up as well as they watch, because they're seeing those things for the first time. And so, and for their own stories, they're like, oh, they aired that? Oh, I wonder, why didn't they air this? But it's like any TV show. It's, you know, whatever the editors are trying to come up with a product that everybody is going to want to watch and they find that's interesting. So anyway, I think, is there anything else anybody wanted to talk about? I think we pretty much covered tonight's show. It was really fun to have Rebecca here, and I thank everybody for being on the panel. And we'll just keep going through the season and rooting for the teams and hoping they all get to stay on as long as possible, right? So with that, we will say goodnight, and we will see you next time on GenFriends. Bye, everybody.